Whether you're watching your favorite NBA team at the arena, the bar, or hanging at home, grab an ice-cold Michelob Ultra and enjoy every moment of the NBA season. Stock up today and watch your team drop buckets with a bucket full of ice-cold Ultra. Michelob Ultra. Superior light beer.
Enjoy responsibly. Copyright 2026 Anheuser-Busch. Michelob Ultra. Registered light beer. St. Louis, Missouri. Must be 21 plus to order alcohol. Alcohol available only in select markets.
Your call has been forwarded to voicemail.
Hi, this is Zoe Deutsch.
And Nick Robinson. Our brand new movie, Voicemails for Isabel, is all about those little moments that feel like the universe is looking out.
Feeling homesick, then your sister calls.
Hearing that perfect song exactly when you need it. Sometimes life rigs things in our favor, like learning about your new favorite rom-com, Voicemails for Isabel. Now playing only on Netflix.
And we're back with me, Johnny McMurray, on the On the Spot Football Podcast for yet another fantastic guest. Tonight's guest completely runs the whole of the Irish League. We're going to dive into what it's like, the life behind the scenes, what it's like to be the chairman and the CEO of NIFL, and potentially what it was like at Cliftonville. Who knows? But it's my pleasure to introduce Gerard Lawlor. Gerard,
Johnny,
it's a long time coming.
I tell you, I sort of thought it was bottom on the list. Take it you've run out of decent people, so that's why I got pulled in.
I had to come pull you out of the woodwork.
You see, exactly.
Mate, I'm absolutely ecstatic to have you in, to be honest with you.
I'm delighted to be here, man. Good to see you. You're looking really well.
Thank you, you too.
Yeah,
as we touched on there, you're just out of the gym.
I was in the gym this morning. It doesn't do me any good, but sure.
Here,
try.
Keeps the head fresh.
It does.
That's the one thing that does. But no, listen, thank you so much for coming in. It's been an absolute pleasure, and it's an area that you know that I'm extremely interested in terms of progressing the league and how it's going to look in potentially the next couple of years. So there's a lot to dive into.
Yep.
So we're best just getting started.
Fair enough.
Diving straight in, no holds barred. What about the money in the league at the minute? How do you see it? What's it like for you to have to deal with as the CEO of NIFL, and does it give you a headache?
The honest answer, there's two sides of it. There's a good side of it I think is really positive, and there's a concerning side of it. Look, I think when we see, I always talk about the game has to evolve. Mm-hmm. We want to attract the best players to the league, and we see that is happening. A lot of people will be negative about it. That mostly comes from quarters that maybe don't have it.
Okay, well,
so
yes.
That's where you see a lot of negativity.
Yeah.
Look, we have financial compliance regulations in place. And as long as those clubs have the money, are able to spend the money, that's up to them.
Yeah.
So who are we to stop them? So has money changed the dynamics of the league? It really has. But there's too many people in Northern Ireland, and I'll throw one out early, is the good old days of how it used to be. The good old days have long, long gone.
Absolutely.
In NIFL. And within our clubs, like the professionalism, even in the time, the short, I think I'm coming up to 5 years in September. I think we're night and day compared to where we were 5 years ago. Mm-hmm. Different clubs go through different trajectories and through different trends. So look, as long as it's affordable, and look, people talk about sustainability, clubs, as long as we don't lose a club, there'll be ups and downs, there'll be bumps along the road. But we just can't sit in our laurels. You know, 2 nights a week, we were chatting off air, 2 nights a week and playing the Saturdays long gone in the Irish League. Mm-hmm. And that's probably one of the biggest challenges that I face, is too many people want it to be the way it used to be.
Okay.
When we'd won their 2 clubs and 1 or 2 teams, they competed with each other. We used to talk about the big 2. We don't have a big 2 anymore. Mm-hmm. So for me, that's progress. For me, that's development, and that's my job at the end of the day. And I think the clubs have woke up to that journey. And look, we're a victim of the world of football. The money in football is mental. When you look at what players earn across different countries in Europe. So it's not that Northern Ireland has exploded just with money for football. The world has exploded and we're just a victim, and that trickles down and it has a domino effect. So if we want to move and we want to be competitive and we want to go forward, then unfortunately, this is the mould we had to break, and we have to move forward. And like, you know, as long as people have it, Johnny, as I keep saying, and that was something I was always, because some people would have been very competitive about a salary cap, and you can only cap players and you can only cap their salary. Where I'm saying, if somebody has the money and they want to spend it, let them.
Yeah. In terms of your tender, you started this 5 years ago. Did you have a plan where you thought that I want to go in a certain direction with this, and the potential of going to a full-time league, was that something that you thought of 5 years ago and you wanted to portray and push forward, or was it more so, how do we just become more professional and let it develop slowly over the course of the 5 years?
Yeah. No, I mean, it was an objective, and I mean, I still have to bring some people on that journey with me. I was criticised, I think early on the tenure, I made a statement, I'd like to see us being a full-time league within 10 years. And
You're halfway there.
then when we get that, you know, the normal nonsense of those that don't like the agenda. Because, and where I base that on, Johnny, I mean, and obviously in a former life where I came from, I could see it growing. And I could always see that we're now paying part-time, a lot of our clubs are paying part-time players full-time wages.
Yeah.
And I use an example of a friend of mine, I won't name him for obvious reasons at the time, and, you know, he was at Cliftonville, and he was maybe getting, say, £600 a week at Cliftonville to train 2 nights a week and play on a Saturday. And then he had a driving job elsewhere that maybe got him about £350, £360 a week take home. But if you'd asked the player, what's your full-time job? The driving job was the full-time job, 100%. Even though he doubled it in football for 2 nights and a Saturday. So for me, it was a mindset. So for me, there, where I'm going, like, if people were getting, you know, a decent living, 30,000 a year in football, they should be full-time in a way. And we should adopt their lifestyle. So I seen that coming in early to say, look, we're paying a lot of money to part-time players to be full-time wages. And it's not the player's fault.
No.
In no.
When you need to build up your team to handle the growing chaos at work, use Indeed Sponsored Jobs. It gives your job post the boost it needs to be seen and helps reach people with the right skills, certifications, and more. Spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check all your boxes. Listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. That's Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need a hiring hero? This is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs.
Choice Hotels get you more of what you value. Comfort Inn, it's calling your name. Save on the stay. Oh, and free waffles are yours to claim. Book direct at choicehotels.com.
Way is it the player's fault? Because if not, they'll go to Scotland, they'll go down south, they'll do that. And clubs have to know their place, Johnny. And what I mean by that is the big will get bigger. And we don't want the smaller getting smaller, but sometimes we just have to develop and we have to explore where that brings us. We look at the English Premier League, you know, only one team can win a league.
Yeah.
Man City have more money than everybody. Didn't win the league last year, so that all changes. So yes, is it a vision? And it probably came about, as I say, to go back a little bit, was because I seen we were paying the money to part-time players. So then the clubs needed to be more professional. The clubs needed to focus their energies on to having a full-time model, because I wasn't really asking them to pay more money as such. I think they just needed to change a mindset. And that's going to take a generation, I think, to change the mindset within that player, within the league.
Well, also, one of the things I want to touch on here is, you say, mindset's massive. And when we look at board members, chairmen, they're all obviously of a certain age, and it's hard to bring through a new generation of people who are probably wanting to go for a change. Do you see a lot of restrictions with the people who are in charge at the minute in terms of wanting to go forward and adopting these new potential styles of managing your club?
Funny, yes and no again. Believe it or not, the clubs who are full-time and are progressive are very forward-thinking and, you know, give us very little hassle because they see the vision, they're on the road and they go. We tend to get maybe more grief and kickback from some of the smaller clubs.
Is this a financial?
It is. And you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, we can't stop progression. Too many people in Northern Ireland, in my eyes, want to stop progression.
Okay.
And as I say, it takes me back to the good old days. The good old days is gone. You know, if we want to be really competing in Europe, moving things along, being a professional league, because what they want is a lot of money for doing nothing. Mm-hmm. And that, you know, that doesn't work anymore.
Yeah.
The world of football has evolved, and I still think we're behind and we're slow in the involvement. But at least we're doing some involvement at this moment in time to see where it all takes us to go. But, I mean, the big two, no disrespect, you know, they're not a big two anymore. And I think that's good for the league. I mean, if I was to say to you now, who wins the league next year? I think you're talking 4 or 5 clubs.
Yeah.
Where if I'd have said it to you 10, 15 years ago, you're talking it's A or B.
Yeah.
And
more than likely A at that stage.
Yeah. And I think, so for me, that's good. That's progression. It's the start of something, Johnny. And look, when we're seeing investors wanting to come into the league and we're seeing people more attractive to the league, for me, that's a benchmark that we're going in the right direction.
When we look at the overall picture of the league this year alone, like we just focus on from the start to finish, prize money, different things like that, and endorsements, investments, people coming in, taking over the clubs, a 37% increase to all clubs this year alone. How can clubs not want to use the money in the right direction to go, maybe we invest this properly or get help or put something in place? That certainly allows. It's probably not hundreds of thousands, but I mean, it's still a lot of money that clubs would never have got. But 37% is a massive number.
And look, we all use, like, percentages sound great, but I mean, you know, we have seen in the time the prize fund double, you know, from when I started this journey. And that's been being more professional. You know, there's a chicken and an egg scenario here. Like, did I ever think, and one of the biggest achievements that I think the team back in the office have is like bringing Coca-Cola on board, a multinational company who would, you know, in recent years, we weren't on the radar, but we're now able to attract those type of people to buy in to the rights, to the data. And that's where, like, I talk about this. Some people like it, but I think I have to be realistic. NIFL for me now is almost a PR and marketing company that runs a football league. Because the football part of it is the easy part. Mm-hmm. You agree when 2 teams playing, you appoint the referee and you get on with it.
Right, okay.
Like, that is the simplicity of it.
Mm-hmm.
If I look at our team here, you know, our football operations team of 2 people. The rest, the other 7, 8 work in promoting the game. Because I believe our job, and what our job really is to create a vision of what we want to be. I often talk about we've got to create a framework for clubs to develop.
Okay.
It's not our job to run clubs individually. That's up to the clubs and the board to run them. But our job is to create a framework for them to grow. And our job then, as I see it, is I think we're doing it quite well. We do our part. And then the clubs need to link that into a match day experience, because then you're sitting at home, maybe not an Irish League fan, attracting a new audience going, tell you what, that football's quite good, or I'd like to go there. Then I think where it's fallen down is when people are going to the game, the match day experience is not matching the hype.
Okay.
And I think that is something that...
You're just turning up and sitting in your seat and watching it.
Well, I mean, you go to a lot of games, you go into some grounds, play music in the tannoy if you're lucky, or they'll have a radio station on.
Mm-hmm.
Is the seat clean? Are you sitting in birds crap? You know, like, is the toilets clean? Can you bring your young girl to the toilet?
Yeah.
That's not an experience. Yeah, well, it's not a positive, good experience. So I think because people have so much more, probably in days gone by, there was very little to do, you know, in the entertainment value, or like we're competing with hospitality, we're competing with so many sectors. So there has to be a fresh approach to what this experience is about and how you go where your kids want to go back again.
Yeah.
And they want to develop. And some of the clubs are quite slow on that journey with us, and we get a lot of kickback from some clubs, and say some are really positive. So I suppose overall it's a new mindset, and I don't know if it's me or maybe it's how I go about things, but often I think being local and people knowing you don't get maybe you get kickback and you get just no, it can't be, and we've always did it this way.
You don't get the props that you probably deserve.
No, and look, I'm not looking claps and I'm not looking praise. I do my job. I know We make mistakes. There's no doubt about that. But I just think at times I'm dragging people with me to help them.
Yeah.
You know, and this is where the whole Sunday stuff comes into it, and the development of it. You know, for me, I make no bones that 3 o'clock football, not just in Northern Ireland but across the UK, is a dying breed.
It's saturated.
Totally, you know,
completely saturated.
We all would love to play at 3 o'clock on a Saturday. Number one, we have a blackout period in the UK, so we can't show any live football.
Yeah.
But then we want money from television companies. So that then is going, well, this doesn't work. So then we have to look at it's not that we have to learn what other people do. And I suppose this is the crutch of it that I fight on a daily basis is it's look what others are being successful at and look what others are doing well.
Yeah.
As opposed to, well, it was great when we did this 20 years ago this way. The world has changed so much post-COVID. And just look, I think it comes back very bluntly to some of the people and the clubs who maybe they are restricted in the people that they have, or they have money restrictions, or they can't see the focus. We just need to think outside the box.
Yeah.
And that's
my job.
change
your strategy at that stage, don't you?
Well, you know, we had a strategy in 2003 that we brought out, the NIFL strategy that everybody loved, but a lot of kickback in the implementation of it. You know what I'm saying?
And what would that have been?
Well, I mean, obviously you're looking at, you know, you're talking about professionalism. NIFL TV has caused a lot of issues.
I love it. I'm the one on it, so I get the benefit that way from it, but I only see that as complete positive.
And I mean, that came about because just the BBC weren't doing last year on Boxing Day, and then people moan about paying for games and developing, and it's just as I say, and I know I keep saying the world is changing, but I think there's times we just need to look beyond the forest and see the trees.
Yeah.
So NIFL TV has developed the new restructure of the league, as you know, we're going through at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we said in 2023, NIFL wanted to run professional football. Our vision was the professional game. The professional game in Northern Ireland is the Premiership and the Championship. But then we've appeals and threats and court cases and all gone on about it's a disgrace the way NIFL's treating clubs and what NIFL are doing. I'm saying, did they read the document in 2023 that they all endorsed and voted for?
So see in this document in 2023, when you talk about the outlines, black and white on paper, clubs had time to acclimatise to this, pretty much get themselves to a standard where they're potentially going to go professional and understand what they needed to have in place to keep themselves in that tier. Yeah. I mean, this is no shock. But again, everybody sat in their laurels. And then when we started the implementation of it, it was like I still have people now. I had somebody at a meeting last week from a club says, we were never told about this. I'm like, I've had a meeting once a week on it with the clubs in the last year and a half. Stephen Mills, if he'd any hair, would be pulling it out. And we're saying, did you read that document in 2023? It's about the same about kickoff times. This is what we said we were going to do in 2023. Yeah.
You know, we realised in those days that 3 o'clock on a Saturday saturated a large amount of people going to England, Scotland, looking at games. I'm saying we told you we needed to redevelop the game. We needed to redevelop kick-off times. And it's just as if it's a shock. And we're making this up as we go along. And we're like, so then we're very lucky that, I suppose possibly the way I am as a person, and I have a very good board and strong board, where they're very much saying, no, this is what we're doing. This is the roadmap for where we're going. And this is, we want our clubs to do well in Europe. We want to look at seasonality. We wanted to look at Sunday football. These weren't things just to make us...
to annoy people.
I think some people are convinced I do it to annoy people. I don't. I do it because it's my job, and I have a board that in some way they tell me what to do. The clubs tell the board what, so it really comes, clubs tell board what to do, board have a strategy, board manage me, and I have to deliver it with my team.
And then the clubs would kick back.
And then the clubs where it almost started from are saying, oh, we don't want to do that, but we want more money and we want you to get us more money. But it's almost a bit, I think there's a great line in a film that I watched. Can't remember the name of, but it is like, don't criticize what I'm doing to save you. Almost,
Yeah.
You're criticizing me for saving you. You want me to save you, but you're criticizing the way I do it.
Yeah.
It's like, well, there is no other way to do it now.
Just let it happen.
Just, if that's what you want, that's fine. If you still want to develop and you don't want to go forward and you want to sit back, then fine, we'll all play 3 o'clock on a Saturday, and probably half our grounds will be closed down pretty soon.
Yeah.
And the fan base will just die as we go through, and the game dies and we become part-time amateur players again.
The innovation is clear to see that the clubs and stuff need to go forward. And whenever you're looking at the structures you've talked about there, you're looking at Sunday games, you're looking at Friday night games, and the potential outline the League of Ireland has, which has worked, but they've been successful in Europe. Obviously, they've managed to get the group stages plenty of times. Surely that's something that has to be strongly considered, because being an Ash player, hopefully, maybe potentially going back, Friday night games were never ever an issue as a player. You actually preferred it.
We see one of the biggest kickbacks we have now is part-times against full-times.
But, I mean...
So Lauren, as an example, they'll not make me saying this, Lauren say they get a 30% increase in their home crowd on a Friday night. Mm-hmm. And there's data, and we've looked at that, and that's fair enough.
Yeah.
But then a part-time team gives off about Lauren going there on a Friday night or playing a full-time team. So rather than criticising Lauren or one of our other full-time teams, I think you got to come and match them.
But is that not the same then as playing in a league pub or a county antrim? Because all these games are on Tuesday nights.
Johnny, it is, yeah.
So how can there be no kickback on the Tuesdays as there would be on the Fridays? There's no difference.
There is none, but that is the massive argument that we get on a constant basis. I mean, I'll get that in a season. Any Friday night game, we'll face that 2-3 weeks out of the month. We'll have a complaint from somebody, or somebody's moaning, or there's a manager in the press giving off about it. And you're just like, guys, seriously, think about the bigger picture. Think about where we're going. So, look, it's back to gain what people want to do and people's vision of it, and what they want to try and develop for the future.
Is there a way that the league can just change it to try it? How do you trial a potential League of Ireland outline? It doesn't have to run the same course of the year.
Yeah.
You can still run our course of the year where it's August right through to May on a Friday night. But that,
I mean, ultimately, the clubs are NIFL. And I think it's very important we make this point. The clubs are NIFL. NIFL is, I will always want to say, NIFL is a league owned by clubs. Mm-hmm. And run by clubs. So they have to have an important say. So where we are with the seasonality part at the moment is we've just finished our second in-depth report, because our job is to give the clubs the evidence and the backdrop of where that goes. And look, what makes the world go around, is money. Mm-hmm. So we will put that to the clubs in the coming months. There is an appetite. If we want to develop further, that has to be the next move.
I think so.
I'm no massive lover of summer football. I make no bones about that. I would love to play 3 o'clock every Saturday in a winter season, but we're not going to develop in that model. And we did look previously at maybe Michael O'Neill describes this very well, because there's actually only 68 weeks this summer that we're not paying of the year. Yeah, so all we're actually doing is moving those 6 or 8 weeks around, where people say, oh, you're changing the whole year. We're not. We're moving 68 weeks. We get the Boxing Day argument, which I think is nonsense. Yes, Boxing Day is a great day. We just create another Boxing Day somewhere else.
Move it, yeah.
And a home team only has a Boxing Day every second year. So, to say, oh, we get a massive gate in Boxing Day. Well, you half it and you only get it twice. So, look, we will try to give the clubs the information to make the decision, but ultimately clubs will make this decision, John. Mm-hmm. As much as people may think it, I'm not in favour of forcing people down the line unless we really, really believe in it and have to see it happening.
Yeah.
So we hope to give the clubs the model. I got to be straight. I think some of it could be seen maybe, oh, well, we don't want to do what South of Ireland's doing. We would rather stay. This is part of the mindset that we're still facing in Northern Ireland. But if we want to develop, we have to look at outside our league on what's working. I was shocked when we spoke during the week when you talked so passionately about Friday night games. Cliftonville trialled Saturday nights last year, and it's something we will try to look at more. And look, we always try to evolve. So, you know, Linfield supporters had a lot of criticism last year about the amount of games were moved from a Saturday to a Friday. And I think they ended up boycotting
They did it once.
one of them. So, which we never really want to get to it, but it was an Irish Cup game, so we weren't overly involved in it. Where we are in that scenario, and sorry, just to jump in and for a bit of crack, I see Linfield are now playing the same team in a pre-season friendly this year on a Friday night.
That's what I was saying. That's a bit strange.
The BBC reminded me of this week, so this is where there's some things you can't answer.
Yeah.
But we see, and listening to Linfield and having discussions with the club, we're going, okay, well, if that doesn't work, and now we're looking, well, okay, can we move to 6 o'clock? You know, one of the big successes at Windsor last year was the Coleraine game. I think we showed it 5:30. And it is, well, okay, do we move it? So keep it in the Saturday, but maybe move the kickoff time. So we're trying different things, and believe it or not, we're trying to work with people. We're trying to help what works for clubs. Portadown like 5:30 on a Saturday night. Cliftonville did an 8 o'clock last year and had one of their best crowds this season.
Yeah.
Now, is that a novelty? But again, you can't do it once and never do it again.
Well, how are you ever going to find out?
And this is where we have to make that match day experience where, you know, a group of men, women, families, whatever, you know, amateur league games are finished on a Saturday afternoon. Oh, well, we'll go for a few beers and then we'll go to the game afterwards.
Yeah.
And I think that's where Portadown are finding their success.
Yeah.
And it's not that we do it just for the sake of doing it. We're doing it because we've seen evidence elsewhere it's working. And we've tried to implement it into Northern Ireland. I mean, I see today Premier League fixtures announced, Scottish fixtures announced, you know, and it's Friday night to Monday night. And if we want to bring in revenue from television to help the clubs, that's what we need to become more of a flexible league.
And their league's going, Sundays from 12 o'clock right through to 4, half 4, isn't it?
You know, we try not to go up against, you know, we can't compete with the Premier League. Nobody can compete with the Premier League. La Liga, there's a world of, and that's where I think, you know, and I often we look at the Giants, we look at Ulster Rugby, we look at other examples that go, well, Ulster Rugby can still get a big crowd on a Friday night. You know, there's 78,000 people going to the Odyssey to watch the Giants on a Saturday night. Why can we not get them in the football ground? Yeah. Why, you know, so if people are going out and for that, and I keep coming back to that experience. If they want an experience, we have to give it to them when they want it, not maybe when some people in our boardrooms want it.
Yeah.
And look, I take it back further, Johnny. I mean, my outlook on it is, I mean, obviously I came from the Opera House, which again, and I have a hospitality background. You know, you have to give a customer what they want. Supporters don't like being called customers, but ultimately that's genuinely what they are. Yeah. And, you know, we would have, and the Opera House still are a fantastic marketing machine, which market shows for people to go to the Opera House rather than going to something else. Yeah. And we got to take that philosophy, and that's the philosophy I take into our games, because marketing a game is no different to going to a show in the Opera House, because we're still competing for that leisure pound.
Yeah.
We might compete for a different part of the family or the whole family. And that's where I come to that involvement. And we're on a journey. Look, there's some things have failed badly. There's some things we'll go forward on. But I think we got to keep moving. We got to keep changing, challenging.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, a big part of it is challenging each other. Clubs will challenge me, rightly, and I'm open to it. We challenge clubs to develop, to grow, to go in that right direction. But so many just want to sit back and go, no, we want it to be the way it was 20 years ago. Yeah. And that world's over.
One of the biggest things that we've spoke about recently, and it's one of my biggest interests, and it's the inside of football clubs. It's how football clubs are able to come together, map out a direction, probably similar to you and what you've had to do, and kind of control themselves in a way where they're going to be professional. One of the biggest things that we don't have is probably a lot of clubs structured the way that they should be to progress.
Yeah.
How do we change that? Because again, this is where you're potentially looking wages for players or wages for staff that run a club that's taken away from the budget for playing, or potentially like these things. Conflicts of interest everywhere, but I mean, if you want your club to go or you want your business to be successful, you have to have the right people at the top, don't you?
Yeah, look, there's no doubt about that, Johnny, and it's a frustration because a lot of our clubs will have no doubt or no issues giving 40, 50,000 to a player.
Mm-hmm.
But think if you put in a full-time employee who was a professional person who had a skill set to drive that business forward, you would probably get that return 2 or 3 times over.
Yes.
But it's taken that initial bravery. And look, you know, I always remember in my relationship, and, you know, I'm smiling, is when Kenny came into the league. Like, let's be honest, everybody laughed at Kenny.
I didn't. Well, I did.
You know,
on the way down the road.
You were getting his money. So you were. But I remember my good friend, Jim Boyson, being in the boardroom of Crusaders one night, and Kenny was there watching a game, and Jimmy, you know, being Jimmy, shouting all over the place, "What is this boy at Lorne? What is he?" Foodle and Kenny stand behind him. You know, because like Lorne's not going to do anything. But the one thing about Kenny, and I have so much, and Kenny and I weren't always the best of friends, but you have to have lots of admiration for him, because he built a focus, he built this foundation, he brought everything together, he built a really strong community around that. There was a real market employee, and like to go on and win 4 leagues or 3 leagues out of 4 is phenomenal. That didn't happen by accident.
No.
That happened by having a vision. That happened and was ruthless when he had to be as well. So that's the type of people that we need in to run clubs and develop clubs. But I think still come back, and I know I'm being slightly critical of others, is they would rather sit in the background and criticise what goes on in Lorne instead of grasping it to go, how can I get a piece of that? How can I develop some of that? Because the Lorne story, very strongly, in my opinion, was not about money.
No.
It helps, don't get me wrong. But I look at other clubs have probably spent more money with no success.
Yeah.
So that tells you exactly.
Or you're just trying to eminently buy success quickly. Without having the foundations in place to actually continue. Where Lorne are now successful over the last 4 or 5 years.
And look, Tiernan going and Gary coming in to do the same thing, and Kenny gone, but at least the model is continuing to develop. And I think that is, you know, money helps to achieve that, but it doesn't always be all the answers of everything that we do, Johnny. So I don't know what the original question is now, because I waffled there a bit, but
it was more so the professionalism within the
professionalism, and that is where we need to have that professionalism.
I think.
I mean, one of the things a couple of years ago, I think it's 2 years now, you know, we brought in kit regulations, you know, like simple things like your kit must be this, it must be your name, your number. Some kits were starting to become like the Tour de France.
There was,
you know, you have to have
sponsors
professionalism.
On front, back shorts,
totally, you know, back ahead, you couldn't see a player's number, name, number. Bringing in something like you must have players' names and numbers, it can be a battle, you know. And look, I will say, and I know the guys are going to say next week, I don't mean, I know you're asking the questions, but I mean, coming back a little bit, we're obviously recording this. Next week, we will announce a sponsorship for the first time in Northern Ireland football that will break £1 million barrier.
Right.
You know, so we talk about that development of clubs. I think when I talk about me, like all I do is sort of steer a ship. There's lots of people below me who do all the hard work and support me and deliver, you know. So when I talk about me coming in, I just had a vision, but others deliver it. This is not about Gerard Lawlor. And I hopefully, when I exit, there's others will now see NIFL in a different place. But I mean, the thing when I come in, you know, we were roughly getting about 100,000 sponsorship for our 2 leagues. You know, we've just agreed a deal for a new title sponsorship it'll break the £1 million barrier for 3 years.
So you're talking 330 grand a year.
Slightly more.
Turn 33.
But that, but the model,
0.3
that
million.
is, but people don't see that. You don't get that from playing at 3 o'clock on a Saturday.
No.
You have to go and give the data and develop the product and give people confidence of where the clubs are. But I know in certain things and some of the requirements, and I'm talking about the position of advertising boards or a sleeve patch will cause massive issues within clubs.
Right.
Like we are almost ready for it.
Okay.
The kickback of something. Well, no, Jimmy's Corner Shop has always had that spot behind the goal.
Yeah.
And he pays us £500 every year. And you're just going, what am I doing here? Seriously, is this really where we want to go? And that's when I come back is to say, so is it an exciting time for the league? Yes, it is. And we're on a journey. We don't know where we're going to end up on that journey. But I think we're in a better place than we were 5, 6, 10 years ago.
No,
in my
if you
honest
look at the
opinion.
league in the last couple of years, it's probably been the most fun and energetic the league's been. You've got an influx of money, you've got an influx of teams challenging, an influx of brand new players coming in from England, Scotland, Wales.
Yep.
It's everything's positive. And when you talk about like £1 million massive, but what way will we see that potentially being collaborated in the NIFL clubs?
I mean, look, NIFL doesn't, while we'll have some reserves, everything NIFL makes is for the clubs. So all our prize money goes to clubs. As you say, look, this year we had a 38% increase, 37 point whatever it was. I don't know if my emails are broke because not one person has emailed me to say
thanks for the
For
increase.
play.
Thanks.
Well done.
Thanks, you've looked after
We'll
us.
have an AGM next week and it'll be
You'll be bringing it up.
negative. I mean, even simple things that I want to go back to, I'm just trying to give a bit of a flavour. And I love these clubs and these people, by the way. So
sure, yeah.
Some of us slag off our kids, and it's the same thing. But, even, we implemented 2 years ago, you had to have an ambulance at the ground. I'd have been easier to ask some of our clubs to donate a kidney.
Right, okay.
Like,
okay.
What do you mean? You want us to pay £220 to have an ambulance sitting there that isn't needed? And I'm going, yeah, we'll put a price on a life.
Yeah.
When we looked at the Paul Heatley incident at Carrick, with, because the health service is we're not getting ambulances. We've seen players were laying at the side of pitches for hours on end.
Yeah.
Games were being cancelled. Mark Hockey had an incident, unfortunately, last year at Bangor, where at least now the medical. So that's the professionalism that we talk about. But then the kickback I get is, well, like, that costs £250. It's going to sit there doing nothing most weeks.
Yeah.
Why are you mad trying to do that?
Aye, that's a player's wages.
Like half a player's wages.
Well, half. Wouldn't be my wages.
That was 10 years ago.
That was 10. I'm done. Holding on to it.
So, but that is and that's where I have to think. You think outside the box.
Yeah.
It's easy to talk about professionalism, but delivering it. And look, I say we have some great examples of it. Of professionalism. Some of our clubs are run so well and so professional. And it's great because everybody loves NIFL and in a club, a club perspective. But the first time something happens, our supporters give the club grief. NIFL goes under a bus very quickly at the same time.
Scapegoat.
And the other element is some of the laughs. People communicating within clubs. So like we'll have a club subcommittees, as we call them, and the clubs will come together and they'll make a decision. And then I'll pick up the paper maybe 2 days later and the manager or somebody else from the club is slating that decision in the paper and I'm getting it on Twitter or Facebook or whatever. And then you go, your club voted for that the overnight.
Yeah, aye. Don't come to me, it's them. They make a decision.
And I mean, I'm not picking out, like, as you know, Declan Devine had a massive go at NIFL last year over VAR.
Yeah.
Which was, but then again, that was listening, going back. Like, nobody more than Declan criticised referees and had bad experiences. So we think we're coming in to help something. Now, and the story there is very funny because we'd spoken to the club in the lead up to any announcement.
Well, obviously you had to pre-plan it.
Well, we had planned it. We spoke to someone at the club who is in a senior position. They loved it. Told us they discussed it with the owner who thought this was a brilliant idea. But somebody forgot to tell Decky. So then the Saturday night, and I think this was Tuesday or what, so this was all planned, spoken to Linfield, spoken to David, yes, all great, this is great. And And you've different relationships at different clubs, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And clubs are run differently. And then I'm sitting at home on the Saturday night and I get a phone call from one of our press guys and we're like, all the press are on Decky Devine's torn as a new arsehole this afternoon because nobody told him criticisings about VAR. And I'm like, but sure, we spoke to the club and then I rang my contact and I'm saying, did you speak to your manager about VAR? He's like, it's you didn't know for. But
yeah, that's the way.
The back page then is NIFL, and then people go on.
Yes,
and while we sit and laugh about it, that is the time when you really pull your hair out.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
You go,
the most frustrating period, probably.
What are we really doing?
Yeah.
Or why am I banging my head of a brick wall trying to drag this on a journey with us?
Well, one of the biggest things that I probably want to sit down with you, and I always know how open and honest you are with me and the conversations that we have, but the situations that I see you in, and it's not just like, we've had our arguments and stuff at our own times at Cliftonville, and I hated your guts because you never allowed me to stay there, and
Barry
I thought
Gray
it was
put
me.
You out, it wasn't me.
But,
it was Barry
but I
Gray
had to go, do you know what I mean? So I as a kid, you have these little stupid ideas of what happens in football, and then as you grow up, you realise, George's probably not a bad fella, right? So roles reversed, we've changed slightly, but it must be difficult to continuously go through the constant shit. Because I put down there one of the first things I want to talk to you. I'd love to get you in here and go through your Twitter feed, because the amount of people that abuse you on a daily basis probably would be hilarious viewing for people. So
no, I mean, you gotta laugh at it. I do laugh at it. I'm being honest with you. There's some, from the Poison Dwarf, that's one that I constantly get from one individual who have, and I've never met these people. They don't know me. They have this perception. And look, I'm being honest, I turned 51 a few weeks ago. I ended up in a very prominent position within football, probably at an early enough age. I think I was involved in Cliftonville around about 30 or so. Mm-hmm. And I'll sit back now and reflect and go, I was a prick in some situations that I didn't have experience to deal with, or I went completely the wrong way about it, or I just didn't have the experience. And I think as you mature as a person,
absolutely.
I mean, even the person I am now compared to 5 years ago is night and day. I look back on my own career and go, I could have handled that so much better. Look, I'm passionate. I wear my heart on my sleeve. Mm-hmm. I try to engage my brain before my mouth most of the time. Still doesn't always work.
Verbal diarrhea.
But if you come for a fight, I'm sort of one of the first. I'll jump in for a fight. Mm-hmm. Never threw a punch in my life, by the way, but a verbal fight.
You can talk about them.
I'm good at But so, yeah, look, and I'm saying as the public perception of NIFL. How do you deal with it in a way? You have to block it out.
But
there's times it gets to you.
Absolutely.
There's times that there is some situations where you've done something that you're really proud of, and it's for the right reasons, and you know how much effort you've put in behind it. And that's when I come back to a little bit where clubs will often hide in the background. So while everybody will text me or speak to me or ring me and go, disgrace what happened to that article or what you're getting the blame for, people putting their head above the parapet to come out and support can almost be missing. Look,
so you kind of feel like you're alone in that position in a way.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say a lone soldier.
No, but and I'll take you back quickly. And I remember years and years ago, and former chairman of Cliftonville before me was a boy called Hugh McCartan. And I always remember Hugh saying to me about 30 years ago, but he was the chairman, how lonely it was. And then, and I remember saying, you're talking about you've me, you've Jimmy, you've David, Stephen, that should we all work? But then it's only when you come into that position when you know. Yeah. And it's like any leader, because any role in leadership is a lonely place.
Yeah.
So I suppose I learned it at an early age at Cliftonville. And then as I've taken it into professional life, leadership is lonely because the buck stops with you. And I've no doubt it's the same for managers, because probably coaches are agreeing with you in a room, but then they go off.
Oh, sure, we've all had
and
that,
the manager's left exposed.
Don't know why that is doing that.
Different, yeah. And then I have to look after my team. So I'll often protect them. So I'll always put myself out there rather than protect the team. Look, most of it I've learned and matured to laugh off. But there is times, and probably the times they get it is more when family bring it up to you.
Okay.
So, if it's me, whatever, but sometimes the wife would mention, seen this or seen that, or my son will, who's involved in the game and still at Cliftonville, or he'll come home and say, I was collecting the balls the day and somebody had X amount of ground, your dad's this, and, so or my daughter sees something on Facebook, that sort of is maybe when it becomes a bit embarrassing almost, if I'm honest with you, and you're like, okay. Yeah, okay, just ignore that. And it's easy to say idiots, but it's more a frustration when you're trying your best to do something and you're putting 110% into trying to make something better.
Yeah.
But sometimes the people that you're trying to make it better for are the people that's actually criticising you.
Yeah.
And they don't have any of the facts, and people are just so quick to judge now in society. And look, I'm probably no different in some situations, but there is times, and I always refer back to a player or a manager where, you make one mistake, and we do make mistakes, where people have this opinion, and there is people out there. I believe I live in so many people's heads rent-free, and I don't want to. I genuinely do. There's some that are obsessed with everything that I do, hence where I've stopped tweeting, and I always wanted to be engaging with supporters. I always wanted to answer a question. I never answer abuse, but if somebody had a genuine question, because I want to be approachable, I want to be in grounds on a Saturday where if supporters have genuine concerns or questions, I am more than happy to engage. I did something similar to this a few years ago, and I talked about, I am totally open. I was delighted last year. I received an invite to one of the Linfield supporter club's AGM.
Okay.
And I went, and it was a brilliant afternoon, and I really enjoyed it. And people were saying, you're not going there on your own, are you? And I'm like, of course I am. But I want to engage with people. We want to bring everybody on a journey along with us. There's some things we can say, there's some things we can't say. So I want, because I make mistakes. I am a human being, but I just love this league.
Yeah.
I'll give 150% for this league. I love our clubs. Believe it or not, I love the people, most of the people within our clubs.
Yeah.
But there is probably, let's say, a half a dozen situations throughout a year when you'll sit in the house and you go, really, do I need this? Or you'll get...
Aye, it tears you a wee bit.
I have to go for a walk. I'm so lucky in NIFL now that I have a really strong protection and support mechanism.
Okay.
We've a really strong board that we've developed and changed over the last 3-4 years as well. One of the things we get criticised for, but we said we were going to do in 2023. Great, and a great chairman. And I'm really lucky. And I have, so we have a structure in NIFL. The team in NIFL is unbelievable. I've never worked with a group of people like them in my life. Every single one of them. I think when I started there was 3. There's now 11. And that's the different functions. But I've Stephen Mills and Shay Kennedy, who both of are just two tremendous guys.
Yeah,
and they will have my back. We do management meetings. It used to be 3 times a week. They've cut me back to 2, which I'm not overly convinced they're happy about. But anyway, so I have to step back. They run the business, but they will have my back. They will take bullets for me.
Yeah.
As I believe most of the other people in our office will.
Shay's also taken over your Twitter feed. Shay's dishing out there.
See, no, he was delivering like that breakfast last Saturday. Was absolutely.
He's dishing out a load of different stuff on there. Like.
But they do. But then I'll take a bullet for every single one of them. And my job is to help and develop them and make them grow. And it's just, our office is great crack.
Yeah.
Anybody's ever welcome into it. Some of the stuff comes in the info.
I just go in for a cup of tea sometimes.
Well, that's I thought you were part of staff last week. And then Shane pissed off for an hour and a half with you. I didn't know what he was doing. But, it was at a stage where, we just want to do the right things. We just want what's best. And clubs are, I often describe clubs as children in a way from us, because we're a parental organisation. And we have to punish kids at times, and we have to develop and make them grow and nourish them and make them better. And that's the job of NIFL.
Yeah.
And, you know, the IFA should be on that journey with us. Sometimes it feels as if they're not, but they have different priorities. So NIFL has taken up a lot of those priorities now. But it's full on, Johnny. Like, I can tell you, I think, and a message at 1:20 last night was probably my last message of the day, and then you sort of start 6:30 again in the morning. The people are looking for you or need something, or but I wouldn't change it for the world. Yeah. So as much, you know, say a little bit, times it does get to you, but overall the rewards that we get and the passion that makes you feel, yeah, we're making progress, we're achieving something, we are trying to make people's lives better.
Yeah.
You know, yesterday we launched the stuff with dementia and players, and that's our role.
Yeah.
So, and one question I often posed 5 years ago was, what is NIFL? I don't think we really knew what is NIFL or who is NIFL. And I think that's becoming clearer now.
You have an identity now.
I think we have a very strong identity, taking some of the sponsors. I mean, we are players in the football world. You know, believe it or not, like we would engage with Premier League in England. We'll talk to Scottish FA, the Welsh FA. One thing that I couldn't put in Twitter, I'm going to say it now, is that, and I was very proud to do it, was, I mean, this year at St. Patrick's Day, I was invited to Downing Street for the Prime Minister's St. Patrick's Day celebrations. And I'm going like, well, you know, in my background, I'm a young lad. Well, I was a young lad in North Belfast, Community Flats, which I'm very proud of. I am what I am. I don't do politics, no matter what people think. I work with all politicians on a daily basis for the good of NIFL. But, you know, some people, you can't go there. And I was like, no, I'm representing the league. I'm proud to go there. And, you know, at least I thought Keir Stammer's an all right fella. He pulled me a pint of Guinness that night. I thought it was all right.
As long as he's delivering.
But you know what I'm saying is, that's where NIFL is now seen. It's not about Gerard Lawlor. Yes, I get the benefits of it. So you got to outweigh the good parts with the bad parts. I haven't made it to the World Cup, unfortunately, at this stage. Thought somebody would have brought me.
I thought Jim might have just name the hat there and tried to help you out.
No, didn't get the World Cup this year. Bars. But, you know, an old joke, you know, 80% of my job is I could only have dreamt of growing up as a boy and going to Barnegia and leaving school. But I suppose I want to leave a legacy. I want it to be better than when I took it over. I always only said I would do 5 years, but the last 5 years have just flown in tremendously. I don't know what I'll do. As I say, I'd hope of another job in my. People are. I don't know. I don't want to say it's jealousy at times. I don't know. I just don't know what people just don't like to see people doing. In some cases, people doing well.
Yeah. No, I agree. Especially here, I feel like the country here is backwards. I think I've said this quite a bit. People don't want to see other people be successful.
Totally not. And I think that is because I'm from here and because I'm so ingrained in the league my whole life, you often get it. But some of the people that, you know...
People still thinking you're the Reds man. You're still Gerard Lawlor.
I still run Cliftonville compared to some people. And I mean... Not as far as I don't have time or that. I mean, I will always have a passion for Cliftonville Football Club. And I would be lying if I said anything else. That club gave me a lot, and some of the greatest days of my life. I grew up supporting the club. I will always be a supporter of Cliftonville Football Club.
Yeah,
but I don't show any bias, you know, and that's probably one I get accused of it. Was like, but can somebody give me one example of where I've been biased? I don't deal with Cliftonville, Millsy, but if we have something in the office, and I think that's good because, you know, the one thing about our office is most of us all support a club, and we have a passion for the league.
Yeah.
So it's not that, we're all neutrals. We don't engage. We're totally whiter than white. We're professionals, but one of us have a passion.
When you think about that, why would you not want that?
You see,
surely the league's going to be better if the people who are in it take a severe interest.
That's my argument, but then in some cases be he's a Reds man, he supports Linfield, he supports Glentoran, he does that.
Yeah.
You know, it isn't. We have a passion for every one of these clubs. And as I say, I make no bones about having a passion for Cliftonville Football Club.
whenever we look at the big decisions this year, there's two pretty much stood out. VAR was one, and then the other one was helicopter Saturday, which I actually love the idea of. It just reason that I couldn't sit in the helicopter.
Could have got you in it.
Well, it wasn't in that. We did build up the fun to it. But big scrutiny comes down over two massive things.
Yeah.
How do you deal with that? Because people are looking at it going like, helicopter sitting, whatever, ready to go. When I'm sitting going like, logistically speaking, if Coleraine happened to win that day and they were parked at Sandy Knowles roundabout, you ain't getting that trophy down there for 45 minutes to whatever. Do you know what I mean? Like,
the helicopter was, like, don't get me wrong, it was a gimmick.
it's class.
You know, it was, the fact that we're talking about it 3-4 months later is, and look, when we take it back a little bit, I couldn't go in that helicopter.
No, well,
And I made the collective decision not to go because I would have got dog's abuse if I was in that helicopter.
I'm thinking at it the same way, but I still would have probably wanted to come out of that helicopter.
And don't get me wrong, I wanted to come out of it. Mm-hmm. But when I weighed it up, I didn't want to see the focus being
George
me, or I was
done
doing it
this,
for me,
yes.
or I thought it was Billy Big Balls or whatever. I mean, we had massive discussions on that heli. So, I mean, the idea really came and one thing about, we had a chat in the office, and like, while we really probably, the chances were we were always going to learn. Mm-hmm. But there was a possibility, and we would have got slated if we hadn't have implemented something.
Yes.
So then when we do implement something, we get slated for that at the same time. And the helicopter was talked about. And then it was like, right, well, okay, where do we get one? And look, I have to be honest, and again, taking politics and everything else out of it, we, by chance, had approached someone, and it was David Johnson, who we know through Loughgall.
Okay.
Who's a good guy. And David has another role as the Victims Commissioner in Northern Ireland. The Veterans Commissioner, sorry. And I spoke to David saying, well, anybody with a helicopter in the army would, like, as sort of just, let's throw this out here and see where it goes.
I see who bites.
And then he came back and he was like, look, I've spoken to a couple of people and they would think they do a lot of community work. And in fairness, the RAF they were concerned about how it would look in Northern Ireland, and I had spoken to a number of political figures and political parties, and you make sure, like, we don't need some idiot from a MLA slagging us off on Monday morning here in the press.
Absolutely.
And look, there might have been some places, let's say if Cliftonville had won the league, we probably wouldn't have landed the RAF helicopter in Solitude. But, you know, we thought here is something that is worth doing, and you have to take in all those sensitivities. And thankfully it was a great, for me, I remember standing behind the goal at Inver, and at the same time Stephen Mills, while he'll tell us he doesn't support Larne, which I'm not convinced of, but he's a Larne boy, he grew up at Larne.
He does. Gary. He does. And Gary's his best mate.
Gary's his best mate.
Yes.
So I had to sit back and go, I know what this will mean to Millsy.
Absolutely.
And you know,
the story behind it, the system manager, your best mate win the league.
Exactly. Was just brilliant. There, and like, I'd gone to RAF up the Aldergrove, and we did, because I had to do some photos, so we're trying to balance it, and I was sort of walking away. The wee boy in me was going,
and 100%.
You know, I went on that helicopter, but I'm being professional. I'm going, no. But no, I was delighted for Millsy, where I'm going, no, this is the right thing to do. And the picture of him coming out with the Hamlet on is just amazing, because the stick he has got, somebody, I had a photo of a tray.
Right.
He got one sent, he got a copy of it sent to his house this week, which he's blaming me on. I'm completely innocent. But, you know, that was for me a major impact. And I remember standing behind the goal at him for that day, just at the helicopter, and we tried to keep it as quiet as we could, because we wanted it to be a surprise as much as the sensitivities.
Yeah.
And I have to thank everybody who did back us and did support us. And then over the top of that hill just came the helicopter, and we were following flight radar.
The wee 24 thing.
Aye, and it's just coming, and you're just going, wow.
But this is the thing, it is a complete shock
to
everybody. And football should be like, you think about the many kids that have seen that helicopter, been in that stadium flat there, but just never experienced anything like that. that's the way the league should go. It should have a wow factor in the end of the day. And that's one of the things that I was looking at going, that's unbelievable.
And that's what we want to. And it didn't cost us any money. You know,
just to let people know there.
Just to let people know. But
what's your cost for like
But you know what? And it didn't, because I was like, oh, I spunked this money. I'm allowed to say, maybe not.
Say whatever you
I've
want
said
on
it
this.
now, right? Okay, then. So spunked that money. It's coming. You know, and it's like, no, it actually didn't cost. Would have cost us more for travelling expenses for staff to drive the parade.
Yeah,
and you know what a spectacle. And we have to pay tribute and be thankful for those that helped facilitate it.
Yeah.
And hopefully we are in a different. I was completely worried about it. You know, like, what am I waking up to on a Sunday morning? You know, but thankfully it went really well. I have to thank people. You know, we didn't get any stick outside of the political world for it.
Yeah.
But people saying, who do they think they are? And that's back probably to the crunch of where we are. Do we do nothing?
Yes.
And we don't try to develop, because you get criticised if you don't. But then you get criticised if you do.
Yeah.
And that's just, unfortunately, a society that we live in, which is quite sad, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But we'll never let it stop us, and we'll always do the right things for the right reasons and plough on.
When you talk about the right things, right reasons, VAR comes into things, and it had to be implemented, or it was implemented for the cup final. Now, there was obviously a massive turning point with that in terms of people's opinions on what it should be and shouldn't be here, and we don't need it in this league. But you're in any other league, people are playing in Europe. All these things are now slowly coming into effect where they're going to have to be here. I know you can get mobile VAR that'll come for European games, but our clubs are going to face that very, very shortly in the next coming weeks, and it's a good introduction.
Well, for me, that probably was one of the lowest points of last year. Probably was the lowest point of
For you personally, you mean?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. And I remember the day that, I don't know where it just came out of the, you know, I've always tried to make the League Cup final bigger and better and more vibrant to be that occasion. And I think we have done that. And we joke with the IFA as well about we always want to be bigger than the Irish Cup final. We want to have a better experience. We want to have better days. And I genuinely don't know if I'd been watching something. I just went, that's too far. And I think I discussed it with one of our referees, Jamie Robinson, who I'd be quite friendly with, and we would sort of spend time together. And I was like, what about 4 or something for the cup final? And to me, it was like, our referees are getting hammered every week. Every week. And I remember, and this is something that we've tried to change through Whistle Watch with us and the IFA as well, to be, look, yes, they're making mistakes. We seen a referee in the World Cup the other night in the France game not give a penalty, which I go, wow.
Yeah.
People make mistakes. I make mistakes, Johnny, you do. Referees make mistakes. But they're getting hammered.
Mm-hmm.
And be it a team loses or whatever reason. And I don't think as football authorities we do enough, or we did enough at the time, to defend our referees. Some decisions are undefendable, but these boys are going home, and as you get to know them, are having sleepless nights on a Saturday night because they've made mistakes like they. So anyway, I think it'd come up, and I remember saying to Millsy one day in the office, and I was like, I had an idea, what about VAR for the League Cup final? And he was like, you will get slaughtered if you do this. Don't do it for yourself. And that's then where I have to make the balance. And I remember they were Millsy's words to me right away the day I just happened to go into his office casually and mention it. And I'm saying, but why? I struggle to understand that. I want to do something to make the game better, to make the game more professional. Why would me be doing something? Because again, the theory of VAR was, we did a deal with the provider. It cost $5,000 in total. That's what it cost for us to do that game, because we did it as a trial. Scotland give us VAR referees as part of it, so it didn't cost the clubs any money. So for me, the game is making the game more professional. Thankfully, like, those 2 clubs will be in Europe.
Yeah,
they may use VAR in those European games, as you say, and this was a good exercise for them to do it. Plus, both clubs had been on the back of some poor refereeing decisions. I didn't want the League Cup being won by a referee mistake.
Yeah.
And I also wanted to prove, well, let's see how much really the referees are getting right or wrong.
Yeah.
So for me, I struggled to see whether there was any negative in this.
Yeah.
And probably it's one of those situations where I thought, well, do you know what? It's costing $5,000. I actually then got a sponsor for the $5,000, so it didn't cost any money.
Yeah.
So it didn't. We were bringing it in. We were showing a professional attitude. We were doing something really, really landmark for the game. And when we announced it, the world just went mad.
It went ballistic.
Totally. And I still don't understand that. And I'm going, is it really people are against it? Is there people that are trying to get at me personally?
Yeah.
And that was a really, really low point. But I knew, like, I could duck out of that for my own good. If I was being selfish, just not do it. And then nobody's giving me any grief.
Yeah.
But it's the right thing to do because, you know, the world, and I keep talking about this football world, is changing. I don't think we're too far away before FIFA or UEFA implement a technology within. You must have a technology.
Yeah.
It is coming in the very short to near future. Now, probably I don't believe the English, maybe, or the English FA particularly, maybe have taken VAR too far, and maybe we can be critical of it. I've seen VAR in operation in other European countries, and I think it works quite well.
Okay.
So coming back to that part, it was just a no-brainer for me to do. But it's one of those situations where I didn't think that I got the stick I got.
It was like a lose-lose personally for you.
Totally. I mean, I got slaughtered over that, and that was a real low point where you go home and go, seriously, like, why am I wasting my energy? Because it does get to you sometimes, and that was a time last year.
Is that the worst that it's been?
I'm sure I've done something before that, like. What did I do the time? The year before, it was the bus and the Linfield supporters going to Dungannon.
Oh, yes.
That was that year.
that
That wasn't my fault either. There's a story behind that, but well, like, that was completely innocent in that one as well. But no, the VAR one was frustrating more than anything. And then some of my allies, you know, people in the IFA were getting worried, we shouldn't do it, maybe we should pull it. I'm like, no, it's the right thing to do. And I probably would have loved Ben to have a decision that VAR overturned on that particular day.
They give you.
But Ben had the game of his fucking life and was brilliant. And probably what happened is, you know, some of the referees, and basically what it came down to, because a lot of, like, we had a referee strike, which was mental.
But technically, you're nothing to do with referees.
No, we're not to do with.
So for you to go and protect referees to the extent that you're trying to, technically you have all
but
to do
if nobody else is
the
doing
FA.
it and it's the game, yeah, totally.
But sure, the governing body's supposed to look after these people.
Sure. But I mean, referees throwing their toys out, and look, I've discussed this with the boys as well. Some of these people thought they were going to referee the cup final. When I asked the IFA who's refereeing the cup final, they told me who was refereeing the cup final. So Ben was always, so it seemed too good of a chance. Ben's far trained. He's going to referee the cup final anyway. What's the issue here? So there was almost IFA politics.
Because you had referees saying, I'm not doing this.
Aye.
Coming out, but no one
They were never fucking doing it, to be honest with you. Because in their heads, some of them thought they were the referees.
Yeah.
And they were lost out in the match. I'm like, no, you didn't lose out in the match because you were never doing it.
Yeah.
And I'm doing it to try and help. Yeah. And it's back to say the people that you're trying to help are the people that are criticising you.
Yeah.
And then there was a couple pulled out of games. And I'll give you a funny story really quickly. So I did an interview in the BBC that day. And I was asked a question about referees. About referees pulling out of games. And I made a joke. And I'm going to say it again because I made a joke. And I said, and it was with Joel. And I says, well, Joel, I says, I don't really know an awful lot about it, but when you look at supporters' opinions and some of our referees, they might be glad that some of them have pulled out of their games. Ha, ha, ha. And my next comment was, but seriously. So that was an off-the-cuff joke. I got reported to the IFA Discipline Committee.
Right.
By the Referees Committee. So the Referees Committee of the IFA reported me to the Discipline Committee for
this
comment.
Yeah.
And I'm going like, I'm the chief executive of the league.
Yeah.
It was a joke because I was throwing things at me in an interview.
Yeah.
And like this went it basically was heading to a hearing that I had to go to this hearing, and I was like, I'm just not doing it.
Yeah.
Why? Like, that's what, and you know, so when you get that, and I'm going, the people that I'm trying to get, and I made a joke on the radio, and I got reported the IFA Discipline Committee. Now, in fairness, they had a bit of wit and threw it out, and were like, catch a grip of yourselves, lads. But that's sort of what you face in the background of it. But look, I do think people say I don't like VAR, and it's easy to people sit and do whatever, and, you know, Liam Packett, who's a great friend of mine, Liam came to the match and then left because of it, and he's still writing about it. Unfortunately, Liam, it's coming.
Yeah.
You know, because I think UEFA are going to tell us, or FIFA are going to tell us very soon. There is a system that we tried to put in. Well, then, I mean, we could never afford full VAR on a permanent basis.
No, it's too expensive. Yes.
There is a system which is a football video support system, which I think is ideal for us. And I tried to bring it into the playoffs this year, as an example.
Okay.
And I think games with big jeopardy, I think the IFA ducked it when they didn't introduce VAR into the Irish Cup final this year. I think they ran away and they didn't have...
Because they had the perfect timing to do it after you...
They could have come out with us and backed us and said, no, we're going to do it, it's the right thing to do. But they didn't. They ran away. And that was poor for me. But hey, okay. We wanted to put FAS into our playoffs. The clubs were completely split on it. And I got to the stage where I'm not taking the shit again. If they don't want it, then let it go.
Does it have to be unanimous?
No, it doesn't. But you want to bring the majority with you.
Yeah.
You want to bring the majority with you. But it is going to have to come at some stage. And I think FAS is a very simple thing, which I think is good, is it's not VAR, but a manager can challenge 2 decisions of a referee, where the referee has to go and review it.
Okay.
It's that simple. And it can be done with very few cameras. It's used very successfully in some European countries. In La Liga, the third tier of La Liga use it. Malta use it in their Premier League. And it basically is, if a manager wants to challenge a decision, there's a signal you give the fourth official and they check each goal.
Fair.
So for me, it's perfect for us. When you listen to the criticism that people are giving off about referees, the other thing that I'm informed it does is, as you know, there's a challenge in the box and everybody jumps and appeals for it and the manager's running out. I believe the feedback we've got from Malta is that has actually stopped because the players aren't simulation as much or claiming for things because they don't want the manager using the card.
Aye.
So they're actually saying to the manager, no, it's not.
Yeah.
So it has helped referees and developed referees. Referees will always make mistakes.
100%.
But we can't sit and criticise them and not want to help them.
Yeah.
So I am somebody who's saying, let's go and help them.
Yeah.
But again, the people that we're trying to help can't see the bigger picture. And that's when it becomes fairly frustrating. But we'll get over it. We'll dust ourselves down and we'll go for it again. And I would say probably next season, there is talk this year, and the rules we've left it open, that we may introduce FAS to the League Cup, later stages of the League Cup and some later stages of the Irish Cup and the European playoffs. We put that in the rules this year, but I think we will be trying our best to introduce FAS into the league next season.
From the start of the season?
Yeah.
Not long ago.
I mean, the 27-28 season.
No,
yeah.
This year's.
We'll trial, trial's the wrong word. We'll look at it, we'll see what it works. But because again, it's back to one of those points. If we do nothing, it'll be, why are they doing nothing? Mm-hmm. But when we do something, we get criticised for doing the something. So we can't have a chicken and egg. And that's where you just have to have a vision and leadership to be, this is the right thing to do. We do it for the right reasons. We do our best. Sometimes we don't get it right. Sometimes we do get it wrong. And we try to develop on it.
One of the last sort of couple of things I want to touch on here just before we finish up, because we've been going rightly. But
I'm just going.
I know
this up here now.
Fantastic. Do you know what I mean? But the Department of Communities and the Football Fund is a massive expenditure of money that's been designated to clubs.
Yeah.
The process of that, when that's potentially going to happen, how that's looking, it seems like a shitstorm, to be honest. It doesn't really seem like there's any clarity on what's happening. Clubs are thinking they're getting it, clubs are losing out, they're paying lots of money to get people to write tenders. They're not fitting the bill, but I mean, how does that reflect? I know it's technically has nothing to do with you, but you take the flack of it because it's your clubs that are trying to get the money. How does that look?
And we're on the advisory working group along with the IFA, so we probably have become involved in it to a certain degree. Look, the frustration for me is we're now 14 years down the line. And I talked to you earlier about match day experiences and facilities. That's a major part of us, and I think we need that to take us to the next level. Look, I'd be very straight about it. Storm, I think, and I've said this for a while, we're caught up in a political storm at Stormont. I mean, I know a lot of people become disillusioned with Stormont. I mean, I'm starting to become one of those people, if I'm honest with you. Yeah. But it go, really, do they make our lives better, or is it just orange and green fighting against people each other constantly? And it's hard because I have personal relationships with both sides, and I get on. I'm like, say, come on, but you know, football is a victim of the Casement Park scenario, and I've always been very upfront and honest in my opinion on that. Like, we're the only country in Northern Ireland didn't do everything we possibly could to get the Euros. Mm-hmm. Like, it's mental when I go to other countries and it was like, you know, oh, the Euros, and did you not want the Euros? And it's like, oh, yeah, we've I don't go there. But so, I mean, back to the fund. Yeah, look, there's a very small pot now. Have to praise the minister at the time. You know, he launched it. He's done more than what anybody else has did. Yeah. And both sides have held that together. Really, where I think we are, Johnny, you know, we're getting close to a general election, obviously next May. I don't see a lot of progress before then. Mm-hmm. And look, I've nothing to back this up other than my own personal opinion.
Yes, absolutely.
But I think it'll be very cat and mouse. Nobody will take any risks. Nobody will do anything controversial almost till a new term comes in.
So that they're still sitting.
So I think we will continue to drip feed and almost waste a year. Now, there is working on in the background. I mean, we have a judicial review from Crusaders in Derry City, which, in fairness, hasn't stopped process, but that could have implementations of where it comes out. But I think the rest of this year, the start of next year, will be really slow. And then it'll be a new term, and let's see this time next year, really, you know, if I'm a betting man, I'll say Shinners will go in and take communities again and build Casement Park. And then hopefully that starts the momentum for football. But I think we will always struggle while Casement's there. People tell me constantly they're not joined. They are joined. They're totally joined.
Yeah.
There's no difference between the two. Unfortunately, sport has been targeted as part of it. So that's my only light at the end of the tunnel, is that maybe Casement will get some development if there was a change, and that's no criticism of the current minister in any shape or form.
No.
But that's everything we've talked about the last while is about how people behave in Northern Ireland. So frustrating that we're not there. I mean, it's needed. Some of our grounds, we're trying to improve facilities and improve ground criteria, but then we're putting more pressure on ground because some of the grounds are being held together by stick and plasters.
Literally,
so that's when we have to be very careful of how we develop and how much we grow, and at what stage do we grow to try to deliver that.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. I don't know if you knew this, but anyone can get the same premium wireless for $15 a month plan that I've been enjoying. It's not just for celebrities. So do like I did and have one of your assistants switch you to Mint Mobile today. I'm told it's super easy to do at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
When you look at that sort of money side of things, and then you look at the changes that you've implemented to the league, so you've obviously put this new structure in place for the 3 tiers.
Yeah.
You've obviously had quite a bit of kickback from that, which it's quite common knowledge now, but what was the main reasoning behind you changing the development? Because there's 16 teams, championship, 16 conference.
Well, I mean, it's very simple. The IFA asked us to do it.
Okay.
You know, and this is the part where the IFA had this in their last corporate strategy of 2022. I think they were a year before us. And they put in this new pyramid, which I always supported because, as we all know, the team that dropped out in NIFL they didn't know where to go as such. You know, there was no designated home.
Yeah.
It depended where they went within the amateur league, within the Ballymena League. So there was confusion really of where we all went there. And then, so we were supportive of the idea. Again, in our strategy, we put it. So the IFA had it in their strategy that they want to complete this pyramid of football, and we were fully supportive of it.
How does it come to it's just NIFL have done this again? Because you're hearing a lot of stuff at the time, and it's this is all done by NIFL, and they're changing it, and all the clubs are coming.
Something to do with NIFL. It really hasn't. I mean, we had the third tier that was always going to go into this new pyramid. As I said, look, our strategy was to run professional football, and that is two tiers in the women's league also. So for us, it was very much the IFA asked us to do it. We were happy to do it. We feel those clubs are more aligned to there are intermediate clubs. So the PIL is an intermediate league. I felt where NIFL was going, and a couple of things, some of them weren't offering an awful lot to it, let's be honest to you, to the NIFL brand. And I felt we were putting a lot of pressure on some of the clubs to not being able to achieve what they wanted to achieve. So the natural thing was, well, let's take a step backwards almost to go forward. The one thing that I almost do, and I really believe this, those clubs will sort themselves out quite quickly. The clubs in our championship, and we have a number of clubs that are dormant, and they just sit and float up and down the championship. They will get dragged into this quagmire now.
Yeah. And
I think it'll be a real shake-up of the top tiers of football in Northern Ireland. So for football, it is the real thing to do. And the term I used in those days was, we have to soul search.
Yeah.
I asked everyone to soul search for the good of football. But then, of course, it comes selfish, so you look after your own rights. And I understand that as well. And some of those, so I say we were asked, the IFA then appointed an operator, which happened to be the Northern Amateur League. We had no interest ever in running it, and we made that part of it clear. We worked with them, and then somewhere last year, I'm now led to believe, it was announced to me in a letter last week that the IFA paused the project. I mean, they never told us they paused the project. I know they didn't give it a kick to go forward. So it's all about people playing with words.
Okay.
But what is the best thing to do with football? What is the best thing for football? I think the new tier is, and now we would have 5 top tiers of, and progressive clubs can come right through those tiers. I mean, I look at some of our strong clubs, like, let's talk about Strabane Athletic have had 2 promotions. In another tier, in another system, they wouldn't have had that progress.
Yeah.
The work, and one of the most progressive clubs that I see that we have lost is Balmacash. Balmacash are a smashing club. The off the field, what they do behind the scenes is incredible.
Yeah.
Their facilities are wonderful. Now, they missed out on it, but we've had Raffer Island who have come from the amateur league.
Right up.
And growing up in the NIFL. So what we always seen, and I always seen, is, and as an administrator, there has to be a better pathway for football. And people have to be, because it's back to what I said earlier, there's too many people are just sitting comfortably within NIFL, within football, but they're offering nothing. So what actually is, I think this will shake up the whole system. Look, we were gutted to lose some of the clubs that we lost. I mean, Balmacash is one. Dollingstown, is another really good progressive clubs. But this is where we all have to take our hats off to think, what is best for the game?
Yeah.
What is the long-term future of football? And take a little bit of selfishness, and soul searching was my term on it. And I think we all have to soul search at times to go, what is right for the game? What is a good thing to do? Because we all love football. But how much do we love football compared to our own wee bit of football? And that can hold us back an awful lot.
Keeping those teams in that lower bracket at 16 obviously implies more games.
Well, that was compromise. So really then we had to go and sell it.
Do you not think that could be a good progress? Like, was there any involvement in ever potentially moving the Premiership to a 16 team instead of having it at 12?
Well, no was the honest answer. And I would ask you, do you believe we have 16 senior professional clubs in Northern Ireland to play in the top tier who could be full-time?
Not full-time, no.
Do you know, so then if we want to progress that model, I don't think we're big enough country to have, when we look at, down south's 10, Scotland would be 10 if it hadn't been for Rangers. And, so again, we look at other models in Europe that work. I think 12 is a good number for us. So if anything, and I'm not going down that road in that it's something we're working on, it might be 10 could be a better number than 12.
Yeah.
But I think 12, so 16 for me is definitely
Just
not
too much,
a good number. I just think we lose what we've got. But the 16 was a compromise, because then we had to go to PI the championship and be, right, we're not going to do anything, if you buy into this. They were worried about their own positions. They then asked us to make a 16-team league. And the 16-team league was again meaning we weren't losing all the teams in the PIL.
Yes.
So it made the PIL really exciting last year, and we brought 4. Championship asked for no relegation that we got slaughtered for, but it was the championship clubs who chose that.
Yes, yeah.
So it just seemed the right way to do it. Everything there has to be a bit of give and take. So it gave the PIL clubs last year a little bit of light to try to achieve something. Now we have to sit down and look at, and again, we sat a few weeks ago with the championship clubs. We asked them what their playing format was for next year. So there's 16 clubs in that league. 4 of those clubs didn't turn up to the meeting.
Okay.
So when we're bringing in 16 clubs and saying, can you tell us how you would like, what is your playing format for next year? Yeah. And how are we going to relegate and all of this?
Because how many teams are going to be?
Out of 16, 4 didn't show.
That's so mental, isn't it?
So there's a quarter of the clubs didn't even turn up to that meeting. And I can't make people go to meetings.
No.
But that's back to that professionalism that we talked about earlier.
If you're going to buy into it, invest in it.
And then we're saying, right, let's make it real jeopardy. And look, people love jeopardy. Let's make it really exciting. Right, we're going to relegate 2. That's good for football.
Yeah.
Yes, it's not good for the 2 clubs to go down, but we're saying now, get your act together. Let's see, really, and if this is your home, you will end up in your natural home.
Yeah.
But if you've been in a false home and you've been squatting for a number of years, you're actually going back to where you should be and where you come from.
Yeah.
So, but then again, any decision you make it's so easily appealed. Somebody doesn't like something, they go on to social media, people jump on a bandwagon, traction. It's just mad, just the way the world is, mate.
Yeah. Now, one of the biggest things that was implemented this year has been the introduction of NIFL TV. Yes. Now, we touched on it at the start, and I think it's a fantastic initiative going forward. And you're looking at the context of people complaining that it's taking bums out of seats, and there's people going to be watching from home and paying for the stream instead of going to the grounds. But I've never seen it that way. I actually think that it just gives viewership to people who are potentially not in the country. Statistically speaking, it hasn't been the way that we all thought it was going to be, and this bums out of seat thing's complete false.
Yeah, and look, so taking it back a little bit is the one thing we always want, and our number one priority is getting people bums on seats and filling out football stadiums.
Yeah.
And that has to be really, that's our ultimate goal. Make no bones about that, Johnny. But you're right, because then we've seen there's an audience, like everybody loves, so using that example, and Cliftonville's a really good example of it. They'll sell out an Irish Cup final in 20 minutes with 7,500 to 8,000 people, but their average crowd's 1,200 at Solitude every Saturday. So where is that other 5,000, 8,000, 6,000 people every week when you're looking? So they obviously have an interest.
Yeah.
But they can't make it for one reason to go around. Other clubs are exactly the same. So for me, it's what I talked about earlier. As much as we want the bums on seats, and that's the priority, we need the exposure of elsewhere.
Yes.
The media world, the television world is changing drastically.
Massively, yeah.
And probably I spend most of my time on media, social media, how we're going to develop that in the coming weeks. So, look, NIFL TV, so it's almost, we were criticised that we don't show games. And then it's like, oh, that we show too much games. Oh, they're charging us for games. Oh, people pay £8 to sit in the house, but it's £15 into a ground. You're not getting that experience. And so you can never please everybody. You just cannot please everybody. But the one thing it does for us, and we identified, and look, this will come to fluoration, and I need to be very careful what I say, because we're actually in negotiations at the moment with a new TV contract. Okay. Technically, at the moment, we don't have a TV contract. Right. Okay. And we're currently in stages.
So in terms of the BBC?
At the moment, our BBC deal ended last summer.
Okay.
Sorry, last season.
Yes.
And we're in negotiations at the minute, so I need to be very careful what I say in this one. It's taken up a lot of my life, because you're trying to fix issues of the past. Pre-COVID, I think we had 6 BBC games and 6 Sky games on TV, and everybody complained it's a disgrace we're not on TV. We signed a 38-game deal during COVID, and then that was extended 4 years ago. Mm-hmm. And at the time, 4 years ago, it was the right deal. It was the right deal for the BBC, and it was the right deal for our clubs, because our clubs were doing somersaults. They were getting all this exposure.
Yeah.
And then we've outgrown a little bit of that. BBC's priorities are changing. The world is changing. Young people don't want to sit and watch 90 minutes of football. They want to see quick action. They want to see data. Right. They want to see
give me the clips, 3-4 minutes.
Let me see the goal. Let me see the incidents, and I walk away. So that's why we're trying to work out something, and we're at a key stage. Basically, and it came about, Boxing Day is our biggest day of the year last year. We had 4 games that were sold out, and we know we'll sell out every Boxing Day, more or less, and they weren't on TV. And we just thought it was a bit mental not to do something.
Yeah.
So one of my colleagues, David Kerr, who's a Glenmore, I did this at Glentoran previously, and David's just turned out to be a whiz kid with this.
Yeah.
That David really took this project on of his own, and we started producing games and going back to our women's game. So we do games for the zone for the women's game, and we were producing all them ourselves behind the background. So it's basically, it's a shell over the top of it, but the production, the cameras, all of that, we brought in a company to do that for us. And we thought, well, why don't we produce 4 games for Boxing Day and create NIFL TV? Again, it was something as an idea, and thought, let's see what happens. And the results were phenomenal.
Yeah.
4 games were sold out. Again, when we look at the data, and something we will always do is look at data and make decisions on evidence, and decisions that are evidence-based. Televised games, technically nobody can show any evidence that it decreases audiences and bums on seats.
Yeah.
Now, let's be realistic. On a cold, wet Tuesday night, if you're going to Carrick and the game's on TV, is there some people that might say, I'm not going down to Carrick because cold in Carrick in the summer, as we know.
Yeah.
I'll sit in the house and watch it. Yes.
100%.
But again, there's 30,000 maybe watching that TV game. So think of the big exposure for the club, the bigger exposure for the game, the sponsorship, because a lot of what we sell, and we talk about the sponsors that we bring in, they are all based on data and figures and audience figures and engagement. So that's so much of what we do. And basically we just kept trickling NIFL TV, and it just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. We get, so we're looking at next season. We need to get our BBC part done. We would like to see, I don't think it's ever going to be a League of Ireland totally let you every game live. No. That's not our thought process at the moment, but we would see a season pass for X amount of games. And I think we're providing a service to a lot of people who can't make it to games, a lot of older people who can't watch games, a lot of people outside of Northern Ireland who can't watch games. So, look, it's still in its infancy and at a very early stage, but the plans of it can be very exciting because, as I say, we got to look at the resources of BBC, of other broadcasters, of where they are, what they're doing. We can control our own message. It's no big secret, maybe the BBC productions could have been better. We've raised the standard of them. They've come on that journey with us. So, look, I always will say there's a place and there's a home for the number one place and home of Irish League football will always be the BBC at this minute in time.
Yeah.
That's and I've told them that. But for the rest of the game, and it's been quite lucrative, if I'm honest with you, also. We hear they lost a fortune in this. No, we haven't. We're sitting with a very healthy pot of money within NIFL that will ultimately, we'll do some resources and we will then show it, and then clubs will get, and clubs do get it, they got a percentage. I mean, people say, no, so one of the arguments I hear is, nobody got any money out of NIFL TV. Well, where the do you think your 36% or 37% came from? Like, that's a combination of everything, so that's where
all these little side businesses are kind of contributing to the success.
And look, I'm not, and I don't know where this will go, but there was something yesterday that it was an opportunity for NIFL TV that could be life-changing for us. But again, look, NIFL TV has to live beside
the BBC.
The BBC will always be the broadcaster. They'll bring us numbers and big numbers, and it's there. And we've looked again at other sports that maybe were formerly in the BBC, and they came away and their numbers dropped.
Yeah.
And that was people inside a stadium. So, one of there's no big secret, it was Ulster Rugby, who were maybe getting 16,000. They come off the BBC and their crowds were 10.
Yeah.
Now, success and all, there's many factors, but there's nothing out there in the world of UEFA, FIFA, television, and this is rather than Jimmy sitting in the house has this idea or this perception and be, right, I'll start this on Twitter and then everybody will jump on. We try to make these decisions based on facts, speaking to other organisations, speaking to other companies. We're never trying to reinvent the wheel.
No.
We're always trying to learn, though. And a key learning is doing what is successful in every other countries.
Well, you're just implementing something that you now see the professional game in England. Everybody who commentates, commentators, hosts, their panel guests, they're all professional footballers or ex-professional footballers who have came back in to give their insight and analysis on the game.
That's what we want.
That's the best version.
And look, a large part of this as well is us trying to give opportunities to people like you,
100%,
who want to get into the game. If we didn't do this, so I'll give you an example. We had, I can't give you the whole story because I'll give it away, but one of the games that we did recently, we had NIFL TV, and as you know, we don't pay very well.
I don't get paid.
I know you don't. I didn't want to say that.
So, fuck you. I'm still waiting on that check to come.
Don't worry. We're trying to grow. The clubs have it.
37%, that's what it is.
The clubs have it. But as you know, we're trying to create, and the managers and the ex-players, they all give up their time and they're happy to do it. And then a chairman came to me and was like, absolute joke, this NIFL TV, and you have 6 presenters over there. Like, it's a joke what you're giving all them. And I'm like, but do we want to have a host, analysis, a commentator? We're trying to be professional.
Yeah.
But the people we're trying to show in a light of professionalism are the people going, and again, they must all be getting £500 each, and it's like every one of those guys are getting up, and
as
the guys love doing it. There's great banter. People like Jim Irvin, and Jim unfortunately lost his job at Ballymena.
Yeah.
Had a bit of a gap. People probably didn't feel great. We were able to bring them in, work with them. Jim was brilliant with us.
Absolutely.
He's now gone back into Ballymena. So for us, it keeps people involved.
And it also gives people the opportunity who have been out of the game for a long time the chance to come in and voice their opinion. And the good thing about it is, and I loved it, obviously I get to host it, and the buzz it gives me to be back in the game after the injury. Yeah. I was missing that.
Yeah.
But then again, you've professionals, you've ex-legends like Sir George McMullen standing up there talking about Clivenville and how he would have done it back in the day, and Stuart King and Michael O'Connor, who's just been a new manager at Glenavon.
Everybody's been brilliant with us.
It's fantastic.
And we would hope it then gives the guys opportunities for the future. So for us, it has been quite lucrative. We need to do some more investment. It's here to stay.
Yeah.
But always at this moment in time, the plan is to sit behind a BBC deal and suck up the second tier.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to grow it into the championship and give those clubs more exposure as we go forward. Because, and I mean, without boring, I always laugh. One of the worst days of the year, well, it happens quarterly, is the TV fixtures day. The day that we announce the TV fixtures is, you turn your phone off and head, and lock the door in case Healy tries to pop.
Everybody's going to come up.
So you sort of go, and then everybody goes off on one. And one club in particular, who were particularly bad, who just didn't want to do it, just want to play 3:00 every Saturday. It's not Linfield. And then they were speaking to a sponsor who we were speaking to.
Okay.
Also, and we had a chat with me, and I says, I believe you're speaking to X Club, and they were like, yeah, and they were telling us they love the games and how much, they love being on TV, and they've really sold how much exposure we could get. And I go, these they're on the phone to me constant. Like the worst club to give us grief. And then they're out giving us grief for the TV. But then they're selling it to a sponsor about, we be on TV so many times a year and we love it and we'll give you so much exposure. So again, the TV is putting that brand into the exposure of the club brand. Secondly, sponsorship. And I mean, a lot of our club sponsorship money will have hopefully increased because of NIFL at the same time. So, yeah.
Well, when you talk about that deal, now that we talk about brands and stuff, that £1 million, 3 years. There was a deal done recently in the Irish FA, and I got the chance to be at it with, I think Pete Snodden hosted it, and it was the Clearwater deal. 8 years, 9 years, I think £1 million. How do you secure a deal over 3 years for the league, and the national stadium is being rebranded and it's less?
Probably different property. I have a better staff, I'd say.
You've the right people in mind.
We've the right people. We're lucky, and we have a great commercial team led by Regan McFarland. Des, I think Regan could sell sand to the Arabs.
Okay, fair.
But no, look, I mean, but this is about being proud of our brand and knowing. Look, I don't know what the IFA do or what their deal is, but you know, it really is. And look, it's about data, it's about community impact, it's about selling our brand. And some traditional football people don't like those buzzwords, but they're the buzzwords that make the business world
it is true.
develop.
And
going and talking to companies and developing with companies and bringing big people. And look, us and the IFA also have realised there's a role to play together.
Yes.
Like the Coke deal we did together there's a piece of the cake for everybody. Football in Northern Ireland should be more united. I believe, the Conference League will happen. We have a great relationship with them. So as long as we all work together for the good of the game overall wins. So, yeah, look, we've had a great year. I think we had 5 new sponsors last year. That really came off for us. So we had a great year commercially last year. And say Coke was the icing on the cake.
Massive.
We did great work with Boyle Sports, where we had a really, really good deal with them. NIFL TV gives us further promotions and further... Look, you're just always looking for opportunities, Johnny.
Yeah.
And that is, like as I say... The original Boyle Sports deal, we had a deal with another company for something similar around betting and betting rates, and we actually thankfully convinced the other company to walk away from it. Maybe they weren't getting as much, and we did the Boyle Sports deal, and it was 3 times more than what the previous deal was. And then we were asking clubs to, we were giving them free bibs, and then it was like, we can't do this and we can't do that, and it's like... So I suppose sometimes you just got to sit back, trust,
that's going to work.
The professionals who are doing it, and see where it comes. But yeah, no, we've had a really, really good year commercially, and I think the people who we are getting into, and we've been growing that over the last number of years. Like that just didn't happen. Let's just go out and do this. We've been cultivating relationships, keeping in touch with people. We've had many a door slammed in our face, or no, we don't see. For me, it's a really good thing because the image of the game has changed completely. Let's be honest, we were always tired of a sectarian nature for years within football. That is coming away, thankfully, and we're developing that as we go. So, yeah, look, it's all in my opinion, it's in a really good place at the moment, but we can always do better.
Yeah. Well, listen, thank you for coming in. It's been an absolute pleasure. Hopefully, and we have talked about this, the next time those Twitter feeds start going mental, we're going to get you back in.
I think
because
we should
it's
that.
It's probably something that you've done to anger people. So we'll probably...
Look, there's a lot. And
clarify it all.
The best ones is, because obviously, we are a business.
Yes.
And I say, we have a structure in our business. And there's things that happen in football operations that I know nothing about. And don't, because I got to trust the guys to do it. So they'll do an announcement. I know nothing about it, and then I'll wake up to 30 notifications. And, I don't have a lot of friends, as you can imagine. So I'm sort of like, they're not my mates texting me off. Somebody's did something.
Somebody's done something, and I'm getting the flag.
And there's times I don't even know about it. But you know what? See if it helps somebody and takes their anger out. And
Let them go. It's as well you're thick-skinned, eh?
At least they're leaving somebody that's innocent alone, so I'm good for it.
100%. Well, listen, I look forward to those future conversations. We'll probably touch in every 6 months to a year, and we'll have a review or something along those lines. But, mate, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for clarifying a lot to me as well, because there's a lot in there that I didn't realise. So it's nice to be able to sit and have these conversations. But we finish on hugs.
Hugs, Johnny. I'm happy to get a hug till I no issues.
It's been an absolute pleasure.
No issues. No issues.
Thank you so much.
I'm okay. I'm a man hugger. I'm okay with hugs.
I love hugs. They're the best.
We don't hug enough.
Do you know what? All those Twitter followers didn't know you loved hugs.
No, you see, maybe I need to go out to their houses and say the poison dwarf.
Are we saying?
Poison dwarf's coming to hug you or something.
You should have a wee saying whenever they're walking past you, like free hugs.
There's a thing, a poison dwarf hugs me or something. They could sell t-shirts or something.
That's it. Get the
There's
money
maybe
in.
a wee line. I'll get Janty on the go for that.
38% I'll get.
There you go, mate.
Join us next week on the On the Spot Football Podcast for another fantastic guest. It's been an absolute pleasure today to have Gerard in. See you next week.